just watched a film, the screen fades to black, the credits roll. You're either speechless or fuming, maybe both. Movie endings do that to us. They stay, they haunt, or they crash everything that came before. But what makes a movie ending good? Why do we crave closure and at the same time fall head over heels for twist endings that unravel everything? Today, we're diving into the psychology of movie endings, from emotional payoff to narrative subversion, and why the last few minutes of a film are often what defines our entire memory of it. If you enjoy the deep dives I post on this channel, consider supporting it on Ko-fi as either a one-time donation or a small subscription, as this will allow me to continue creating high-quality, research-driven content. I have also recently launched a Substack titled The Aggressively Serious Newsletter, where I explore cinema, culture, and policy in more depth. Your support there too can be either monthly or as a one-time donation. Both of these will be linked in the description. It all goes a long way and means the world to me. Section 1. Why we crave closure. Human beings are pattern-making creatures. We look for structure, resolution, answers. This is rooted in what psychologists call the Zeigarnik effect, a concept first elucidated in the 1920s, referring to our tendency to remember incomplete or interrupted tasks more than the completed ones. When a movie ends cleanly, justice served, lovers reunited, questions answered, our brains relax. Closure activates the same dopamine circuits as problem solving. It feels like we've done something. This is why movies like The Shawshank Redemption or Pride and Prejudice feel emotionally satisfying. They offer catharsis, or as Aristotle called it, a purging of emotional tension. In some ways, the opposite strategy is used to tap into the same dopamine-generating neural pathways to stick the landing as well. Section 2. The power of ambiguity. But here's the twist, pun intended. Some of the most beloved endings in cinema deny us closure. Think Inception, Masan, The Graduate, The Lunchbox. These films end mid-thought, mid-feeling, and instead of tying the knot, they let you hold the thread. This taps into what literary theorists call negative capability. The articulation of this concept is attributed to John Keats, one of the best-known poets in the history of English literature, and one among the second generation of Romantic poets of Britain. He refers to our ability to live with uncertainty, to accept not knowing as an aesthetic experience. According to Keats, Shakespeare was a master of this storytelling technique. This is also perhaps why the first installment of a multi-film franchise can feel more interesting than the final one, or the finale of a TV show can often feel underwhelming. One of my favorite filmmakers to do this, with his narratives, is Adoor Gopalakrishnan. Almost all his films are like puzzles. If you'd like to know more about his work, check out my video on Adoor Gopalakrishnan. Twist endings also reframe the entire narrative. They turn story into puzzle. They challenge your assumptions. The Sixth Sense, The Others, Kahani, and of course, Fight Club. What these endings do is stimulate what neuroscientists call a prediction error, literally making our brains go, wait, that's not what I expected. And in that moment, the story becomes something else entirely. Section 3. Why twist endings stick. Now let's talk memory. Psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky developed something called the peak end rule. It says, people judge an experience largely by how it felt at its peak and at its end. There is a related psychological phenomenon called recency bias, which is a cognitive bias that favors recent events over older or historic ones. This means a mediocre film can become unforgettable if it ends powerfully, and a brilliant film can fall apart if the last 5 minutes betray the emotional or narrative tone. This is why directors obsess over final scenes. The beach in Call Me By Your Name, the explosion in A Separation, the train in Before Sunset. These are not just endings, they're emotional architecture. Section 4. Cultural differences in closure. It's also worth noting that our expectations for endings are culturally shaped. Hollywood often prioritizes narrative symmetry. Indian cinema, especially mainstream Bollywood, often pairs resolution with music or moral justice. Meanwhile, European or Iranian cinema is often far more elliptical, preferring ambiguity, emotional tension, or symbolic closure over answers. But increasingly, we're seeing hybrid models. Masan gives us tragedy and transcendence. Kumbalangi Nights rewires redemption into something fragile and tender. These endings don't resolve pain, but they reframe it. And that may be the most powerful kind of closure we can get. Why endings matter. So, what makes a movie ending work? Sometimes it's finality. Sometimes it's the choice not to resolve, but to open something deeper. And sometimes it's the moment that shifts everything that came before into new light. We don't remember movies scene by scene. We remember how they end. So let me know in the comment section, what movie ending do you still think about? Did it give you closure or leave you hanging in the best way possible? And if you enjoyed this breakdown, like, subscribe, and share it with the last person you argued about a film ending with.